welcome to episode 11 of Build On Live weekly show thing. Unfortunately, as you have seen in this intro video, there's Jackie, but Jackie is not here. However, we have the wonderful Linda joining us this week, and Linda has a bunch of stuff in store for us. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you. It's gonna be fun.
Exactly. So, before we kick it off, before we explain what's going to happen today and all that stuff, first of all, hello to all the chat. Hello, Chris. We have a couple of folks here coming back. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us again. Linda, tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm a developer advocate here at AWS in North America region. Darko is my colleague and excited. Yeah. Excited to be on here. Yeah.
Exactly. Where did you join us from?
I'm joining from New York City. It is raining outside. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, we got our coffee. Ready to go. Hot coffee this time.
Hot coffee this time. We have coffee. We have tea. We have the wonderful Thursday morning ready to go today. And I think, one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is going to be something to do with Slack. People in the chat, are you using Slack at work? Or actually, better yet, what is your chat application at work if you have one?
I'm curious.
I'm actually curious to see, are there companies that don't use chat apps in this day and age? Is that a thing? Because that is kind of weird to see in 2022. Hey, Justin, welcome back. So yeah, chat, tell us, what is your chat application of choice? Well, not of choice, but used in the company. My chat app of choice is IRC, definitely. What is it? Wall is my preferred chat app. Justin, what is Wall? Oh, you mean like a wall or something? Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Brooke was saying carrier pigeons, and she was a carrier pigeon today because she literally brought me an Ethernet cable to my apartment. So.
There's a story behind this. So, Linda and I were preparing for this live stream, and Linda's internet was a bit flaky. It was decent to say the least, and one of the best way to fix your internet is to just go and get a cable. So Linda didn't have cable, but we had Brooke to the rescue, coming in clutch with an Ethernet cable, a roll of Ethernet cable, storming down Manhattan to bring it to Linda.
And she made it right before the rain into the subway. And I was like, because I was texting her, I was like, oh my goodness.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. So
Brooke, the best.
you are absolutely the best, and this is the primest of all deliverers.
Highest
as Brooke
standards
says.
and bias for action.
Exactly. Okay, so mentioning Slack, mentioning chat, Justin. Okay, I get it. I get what Wall is now. I wasn't really sure. Is that something different? But yeah, okay. So speaking of chat apps, today Linda is gonna teach me how to build what they call a Slack app or a Slack bot. So I can do things with it. So that's going to be a fun thing today. We're going to be looking at Slackbots, at some mock APIs. We're going to be looking how to format Slack messages. And also we're going to be looking how to do all of that with the magic of Lambda functions. So yes, we're keeping the AWS note here still. Okay, Linda. I think we can slowly kick this discussion off with a bunch of things. First of all, before we kick it off, there is the wonderful colleague Chris here in chat. Chris Short, he is actually going to be live tweeting what's going to happen today. So if you go to twitter.com/AWS developers, let me actually find you a link for that. Twitter.com/AWS developers, you can actually find the current live thread on this entire show, and a whole bunch of things. So go and give those folks a follow there.
Awesome. Quick question: where is everyone calling from?
Just
curious.
Usually we have folks from all around the world, but it's always nice to see where the chat skews from. Sometimes it's interesting because at this moment it's like the evening time in India, so folks go home and decide to watch a bald man ramble on a stream, but yes, that's the thing they do. I see here DVAX Z Switzerland. We have from somebody from Oklahoma, New Jersey.
Oh, so it's raining by you in New Jersey.
Okay. Is New Jersey in New York? I'm sorry.
Close.
Yeah, I'm
Some
sorry.
would argue.
Isn't that the same thing? I know a long time ago somebody offered me a job, and they were saying, "Oh, it's New York, it's New York." It wasn't New York, it was New Jersey, but it was close enough.
Consider
right?
There's so many offices right across the river, so it's literally I could see New Jersey. So it's
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we have folks from Belgium. Justin's joining us from LA, and Chris is joining us from Chicago, but usually
Nice.
from Detroit. So let's talk about chatbots.
Let's do it. Awesome.
Before you kick it off, Linda, I want to talk my experience with chatbots.
Yeah.
The first company that had an internal chat application that I was in, we used IRC, or Internet Relay Chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's the OG protocol for chat. And chatbots were a big thing there because you can basically have a chatbot to automate a bunch of stuff, right? Somebody new joins the channel, they introduce them, or they share news. It was very, very practical to get things automated when it comes to communicating to people. So the goal of a chat app is, of course, to share memes, right? To yell at people, to send emojis and whatnot. But ultimately, it's to have the fun stuff. But ultimately, it is to communicate. It is to inform. Right. And these chatbots, or how they're called today, Slack apps, are basically there to do a similar thing, right? They're there to inform, to automate dissemination of information to a wider audience. So, for example, this bot we were doing, it was plugged in directly into our monitoring system that if something went wrong, it would start poking around on the IRC channels and say, like, something is wrong, CPU utilization, yada, 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 right? So it was quite useful. It was very good. It was a bot we like to make fun of because everybody hated the bot when it
kind of a notification that you're scared to get.
Indeed. So, what was the first chatbot you used, Linda?
So as far as using, I love the GIF ones, and of course I use it a lot during the pandemic. I used chatbots even more, especially that was our form of communication. We weren't in person many times in the office, but for me, there were various use cases. One of them was to keep up with news, getting news to my Slack. Which is something similar that we're going to build today for tech news, or like CI/CD type pipelines, getting like notifications when things are deployed, integrating it with GitHub Actions. All these, there's so many ways to use Slack apps to really customize and keep visibility of communication, and it really has so many business use cases. Everything from fun stuff to the more like core pipeline type work. So I've had a few like I think. The cool thing about Slackbots is it's also a great project both for beginners to get into microservices with AWS or cloud computing in general, and it's also like good for intermediate because it has such good business use cases and is a core part of many applications and workflows in businesses today. So awesome. There's a lot you could do.
Exactly. So Linda, tell me, what does it take to build a Slackbot or Slack app today?
Yeah, so today we are going to use the Slack API. There's Slack developer tools. If you go to api.slack.com, there's a whole suite of different tools. There's also some new frameworks that make it easier. There's some no-code features that they're coming out with. But today we're going to be using we're going to be making a custom Slack app, and we're going to be also we're going to try to get tech news to a Slack channel. So let's say you want to get all your tech news diet to your Slack channel in the morning, and you don't want to start looking on URLs. Maybe you get distracted from it. You could get that. You could format it, plug into some APIs, and get it into a Slack app with something called the webhook. So that's the kind of Slack app we're going to build today. We're going to be using APIs from a place called RapidApi, which I will share shortly. I'll show you all that. And as far as AWS services, we're going to put the code on Lambda. And we are going to also use DynamoDB and maybe Cloudwatch events if we get to it.
Okay, beautiful. Let's get into it. I'm I have shared the link to the Slack API page. We're going to be sharing a bunch of links in the chat, so make sure to follow along. And also, if you have any questions for us, you want to talk to us about a certain topic, or you want to probe more on Slack APIs or whatever, let us know in chat. We see your chat in real time. So, Linda, shall I share your screen?
Sure. Okay. I'm going to move myself from it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let me know when ready.
I got Brooke's tweet up. Awesome. So do you see my screen? Is it okay right now? Do you see it?
Yes, we do. Beautiful.
Okay.
We see it.
Perfect. So I'm on api.slack.com. I just want to show you where you have all the dev tools that you could search for. So the first thing you want to do is you need a workspace, right? So you might want to create one. I have one called Build On Weekly right now on my side screen here that I created for this Lunch and Learn. So any keys that are shared, this will be deleted. Because you will see some keys here. But yeah, so what we're going to do essentially is we are going to create an app. api.slack.com. Once you're logged in, you have this Your Apps button on the right-hand side. You can see I started messing around with some things.
Okay.
So let's just get started and do it. Awesome. Yeah. So when you want to create an app, you pretty much go to that Your Apps button and you create new app. We're going to do one from scratch. There are other options, but I think it's easier to get a feel for it when you do it from scratch. So let's see, what should we name it? We're going to be doing a tech news Slack app for anyone joining that pretty much gives you your tech news from sources that you want to Slack.
Okay.
So tech news, what do we want to call it? Tech news bot.
Yep.
That. And the workspace is Build On Weekly, the one I created. You could create anything you want. And we're going to create this app. So as you can see, once you click Create App, you have all these options. And there are many options. You can do a lot of different things.
Okay.
We are going to be doing an incoming webhook, which pretty much means that the Slack app is going to give us this webhook URL, and we're going to send this formatted payload to it, right? Pretty much saying, here's what I want you to post on it. There are other types of apps, though.
Okay, so in essence, this works in a way that you have a webhook, an endpoint on Slack, and something else needs to call it, right? Well, send the data to it.
Right. We're posting.
We're posting stuff. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
As opposed to if you would use a slash command, which would be different, right? Because a slash command is you're waiting for somebody else to ping your endpoint, so you need to create one. So if we were doing a slash command, we would have an API gateway or a Lambda function URL endpoint or something like that, where we could trigger our Lambda function, which Lambda, which is our serverless compute service that we're going to use. We're not managing any servers. We're just putting code in the cloud. Awesome. So there are many different kinds of things that we could do. For now, we're going to do incoming webhook. So if you click that, let's see what happens. You have a message saying activate incoming incoming webhook, and you turn it on, and look at that. You have your it lets you test it with the curl command. But to get a webhook URL, you don't have one here yet, right? Because you need to add it to the workspace. So to do that, we turn this on, and now we'll click Add New Webhook to Workspace. I'm going to select a channel. So you know what? I actually don't want to put it in general or random. So let's go ahead and create a channel.
You don't want to spam. You don't want to spam anybody. Pro tip for all of you: create a bot that just pings at all for everything it does. It would be fun. Everybody will love what you do.
Way to annoy everybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
Payback. So let's call it my tech news and my tech news diet.
So we're creating a separate channel just for this one, and this, when we're creating the webhook, my understanding is that the webhook is specifically created for a specific channel in this case, right? Okay.
So now that I have my channel, I might need to reload this page. Let's see. Yeah, I need to reload this page. So let's go back. We're going to add a new webhook again. Perfect. So now I should see it appear. There we go. Here's tech news.
Boom.
Boom. Okay, so we're going to click allow. And as you can see, when I clicked allow, did you see that app show up on the side here?
Yes. That's amazing.
So it's showing that it's kind of like, it's there. Say hi to it. Great. So now to test that it actually works, they give you a sample curl command that we could actually try. So if you open terminal or any command line interface, let's try it. Let's see that it has a hello world, of course, classic. And this is how it works. You pretty much have to have a message here, like it has a JSON type format with text and hello world. So if I do,
Can you make the terminal just bigger so we can see what's going on?
Let's do it again. Whoops. Is this okay? Is this too?
Even more.
Even more. Okay. Woo!
Yes, please. There we go.
Okay.
Some people are watching this on their phones.
It again. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I mean, we're glad you're here. I just hope you could see. So here we go. Curl. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So did you see how Hello World popped up here? So
Yeah.
it looks like it's working, right? So essentially, what we want to do as first step is actually now this is This is me just putting a curl command, but I want this to work with Hello World from Lambda. So now, I think our next step is to go into the AWS console.
Okay.
Should we do
That's
it?
good. That's good. Yep.
Let's do it. Okay. So I'm gonna actually exit out of this. We're gonna do it on the console for now.
Okay. Okay. By the way, chat. I know you're all tempted, but don't send messages to this endpoint, please.
Oh yeah.
I know. I get it. It's there, but yeah. Thank you.
Also, one quick note before we continue. For this whole Slackbot, we actually have a GitHub repo with the code because it is a little pace-wise. It may be easier for you to follow along with the code.
Exactly.
So we're gonna send that over to you right now in chat, just so you're able to follow along. There's also if we don't get to everything, or you can check if I have typos. You'll help me out because I will have typos. Awesome. So if I head over to
also, feel free to zoom in on the web console because it's very, very tiny. And we have Aaron here watching from an airport in Phoenix, from a phone in airport in Phoenix. So yeah.
You have to tell us if you see it, Aaron.
Let's make sure it's all visible. Yeah. Okay. So Lambda functions.
Yes. So now what I did was I went to the console and we need an AWS account. And I searched Lambda, and here we go. So let's create a function. What we want to do right now, our goal is to do the exact thing the curl command did, but through Lambda, right? We want to send a hello world to see that we could actually send that webhook payload, the payload to the endpoint, okay?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to create a function. You know what's cool, Darko?
Yep.
There are blueprints, actually, that if you type in Slack, there are some blueprints actually available.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, and blueprints are already predefined Lambda functions, right?
Yeah, you have some slash command ones and some other ones. But we are going to build from scratch. So actually, we're going to click author from scratch.
Okay.
What should we call this? Tech News Bot. So I'm going to do it in Python.
Why not Ruby?
Oh, no. Ruby was my first language.
Yeah.
It was actually my first language. It's... I'm a JavaScript person.
Okay.
But I'm doing it in Python, so bear with me. I mean, the beauty with Python is it has less syntax, I guess, issues than this is why I'm doing Python right now, because I always have these typos happening everywhere. I'm the person with the semicolon that sits there for 3 hours. For advanced settings, we're going to keep everything default for now.
Okay.
A role will be created. We will update that role later.
Yeah. Does the role need some permissions? Some specific
has
permissions?
So we're clicking create a new role with basic Lambda permissions. That's fine for now.
That's fine.
Once we create our Dynamo table, we will need to add permissions, but for now that's fine.
Okay.
If you were creating a slash command, you might need to update that. Actually, I think even initially you wouldn't. Once you add a few other services and stuff like that, and other integrations. Awesome. So let's click create function. I just want to make sure everyone could see. So if you can't, just let us know in chat.
While the Lambda function is booting, Linda, tell me in an abstract way, what is this Lambda function going to do? Why do we need a Lambda function here?
Yeah, so this Lambda function pretty much is Lambda functions function in a way that it's code that really doesn't run unless you trigger it, right? And it's a piece of code that lets you. It kind of streamlines for you the whole back end of this. You're able to make it a Slackbot just by putting your code literally on this function and saying, hey, just run this when I need it to run, as opposed to managing any servers or managing anything around it. It only runs when you trigger it. That's why, let's say, something like a slash command bot would be literally just sending something to an endpoint that says, run this Lambda. Hi, run this Lambda, right? It doesn't run unless you invoke it. And it really, for me, I think it's such a great way to get started, especially if you're coming from a front-end background and looking to get into cloud, because you might have experience coding, but kind of introduces you to microservices in a way that's really attainable. And Lambda, you see here, you could add all these different triggers. add destinations. We're going to add a destination, which is going to be, it makes it so much easier to actually build out Slackbots.
But what is this Lambda function going to do specifically in this Slackbot use case?
Yeah, so in this Slackbot use case, we are going to pretty much, essentially we're going to get the feed from the tech news we want, and we want to send that news diet to a Slack app, to Slack. But to do that, we actually have to get the news feed and actually see how we know if something was already sent, right? You can't, you know, the Lambda doesn't know what was already sent to Slack. You're going to need to tell it that.
Right.
So what's going to happen is we're first going to try to send a hello world. The next step is going to be, we're going to try to send one article. Then we're going to format that article. And then we're going to, within that, we're going to connect to an API with a feed, right? Of course. And then we're going to actually connect to a database to be able to keep track of what we already sent, so we could check before we send it, because we don't want to just bombard the channel every time with everything in the feed. We want anything new and nothing else. And so essentially that's kind of the gist of it. And also all the code, just for anybody joining, is on GitHub as well. And there are some steps there in case you're following along that way. But yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's the GitHub link in the chat right now. So if you want to go check it out, give it a star, get a pull request, or just follow along if you want. Awesome. So to reiterate this in my head, we're using this Lambda function just as a piece of compute somewhere, right? This could be a server, this could be a container, this could be your laptop, but in essence, it's on the cloud because it's easier. And what this Lambda function is going to do, it's going to pull news from somewhere and invoke the API webhook we've created earlier and post that news to that API.
And we should
in
see
the simplest
it
of
on this
terms.
In this
and we should see it. Gotcha.
We want to see it here. And we're going to format it also and make it pretty. So so what we're going to do, we're going to start out by just trying to do the hello world, because we want to see this works, right? So the first thing is, let's actually remove this stuff. And we're going to put a comment, and we're just going to say, we're going to test posting a hello world to Slack, right, from here. So to do that, I actually, Python 3 comes with a way to parse URLs and request them and all that. So it's called URL. Whoop, here I am with my typos. Bear with me. Oh my god. Live coding. Oh no. Okay. I need autofill here. So what we want to do is actually we're going to create this message. It's on here. Okay. And I'm just formatting a hello world just so we have it, because this is what we want to send, right? We want to imitate that curl command we had before. So to do that, we have this. I'll also import OS, because what's going to happen is this doesn't know what our webhook is, right? You saw how we created a webhook? Well, we need to actually use this hook. We need to tell it where to go. So actually the first thing we're going to do, we just added this message. We're not using it yet. We just want to have it here. I'm going to scroll down to the environment variables here. So if you scroll down in Lambda, there's a configuration button. In there's environment variables, and we're actually going to add the webhook URL here. This is where you could add environment variables. So if you click edit,
you can ultimately hard code it into Lambda functions, but don't do that.
Right. Not best. I mean, usually if it's a secret, you could use KMS also for secrets. But for now, we're just gonna do this here. But
this is definitely not a secret. We're live streaming it. So.
Yes. We're gonna delete this after. So what you do is I'm back in the Slack apps just to keep everybody on track. So I'm back in the webhook URL. I'm taking this. I'm putting it here as a value, and I'm pressing save. So now I will be able to reference it in my actual Lambda code. As
a variable, right?
Yep. So actually OS, so how do I call the environment variable? You import OS, and then you could, I never know how to pronounce it, os.environ or whatever. We're going to call it right now, actually. You're going to see this.
The environment variables, right?
The environment variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much use just URL lib to, let's see, request this webhook. Like we pretty much want to request it and then open it. And this is the way you do it with Python. So JavaScript might be a bit different, but same concept. OS dot, I always spell this wrong, so bear with me. Okay, so now this is where I type in a webhook URL, and I'm pretty much referencing that
the variable.
That URL in the environment variable, right? So I need to pass this webhook URL, but I also want to pass this message, right? So the second argument here could be message. Well, actually, so formatting wise, it won't accept bytes. So you actually need to do something like JSON dumps, and we have JSON already here.
Yeah.
Is this too? I just want to expand this a little bit so people.
That's okay. That's okay. We can see it perfectly fine. Yeah.
JSON dumps, and I'm putting message in here, and then I'm gonna do. So this is just the way to pass it.
Yeah.
As a string.
Correct. Yeah. Instead of a binary.
Instead of a byte.
Right?
Yeah. So
a byte,
that's why we're doing this. And this is. Oops. It keeps.
So I'm gonna have to pause you right here. There's a wonderful question here from What You Do in One. So that is a good way to encrypt the variables, like privatizing them for bad actors to have access to the account, maybe, right? So Linda mentioned there's a couple of ways you can actually hide these things. You can absolutely use them as environment variables within Lambda functions. However, they're still visible to the Lambda function. They're not encrypted, not directly at least, right? But there's other options. You can use KMS for like encryption. You can use Secrets Manager for actually storing those secrets and then basically allowing the Lambda function to get the secret from a Secrets Manager, or maybe something like parameter store or app config. There's a bunch of ways you can store these types of things in a more dynamic way. This is a very simple way to do it. And to be honest, it is much better than hard coding it in your code, definitely, right? Especially if you're keeping your code open source.
Yeah. And it, like, even if you see the code that I put on GitHub, you won't see the actual URLs. It's all like referenced.
Correct.
Because essentially those are things that would be different for each
Correct.
one.
Correct.
So yeah, for open source code, also good practice, even for things that are not secret, to put in environment variables.
Yeah. By the way, just want to welcome all the new folks. I see a bunch of folks joining in. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Build On Weekly. This is a weekly show where we get to talk about cloud, open source, community, and everything between. Today, we have Linda here trying to teach me how to build a Slackbot thingy. She's right now building a Lambda function that's going to pull information from somewhere and throw it into a Slack channel. So let's see how she goes.
Yeah, so if you're just joining, this is our Slack channel that we want to get certain things in. We were able to get a hello world using a curl command via terminal, and now we're trying to do the same thing via Lambda, and then we're going to get some tech news in there soon. So it's going to be fun. So the next step here, so what we did here is we have our message that we want to send to this webhook URL, which is going to appear here. But this pretty much turns into a string, and we want to actually read this. So to do that, lib.url open. If you're following the GitHub code, if I make typos, feel free to let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of them. And response.read. So this is in Python, urllib is just a way for us to parse through URLs. So, all right. What we're going to do is we're going to try to see if this will work. So to do that, Lambdas have to be invoked, so you could kind of run them by doing like a test if you want to. I don't need to pass anything here, but usually you could update this if you needed to pass something specific. So let's try to test it and see what happens.
Okay, the moment of truth, right?
Wait, did it work? But I don't see it. What happened?
Scroll down. Scroll down. Is it?
Wait. Should we try it again? One more time. Actually, I'm going to put a line here and see if it works. Hold on.
Okay.
Test.
It didn't work.
No.
So, okay. Let's see what happened. Can we troubleshoot what happened here, right?
Yes. So let's go to logs. I actually think it looks like it's failing silently also. And it might actually be because I need a header, potentially. It might be that. So I think I need to add a header argument to the URL lib. So let's try it and see. I don't know. We're going to find out. Content. We're all in this together.
Exactly.
Isn't it be capitalized? I think so bad at this one. Content type.
So the headers here are basically just describing what kind of a package this is. So when you're making a call somewhere,
it doesn't know what it's,
exactly, because we're sending a JSON object. So ultimately, it has received potentially something, but there was no message. So maybe it's nothing has been.
Oh, you know why? I never deployed it.
Okay. Hey. So Lambda functions have these things. You can make changes. You can do all of these fun things, and then not click the deploy button. Doesn't work. Doesn't really work.
It says it right there, and I can't read. Changes not deployed. Oh gosh. Okay, let's try it. We actually have to click deploy, and now we could test it.
But it works on my laptop, Linda.
I think it's still maybe. Oh look, actually, it didn't work because there was actually an issue.
You are all open.
Lib request doesn't like something. I probably have a typo here. Let's see.
URL, I think URL lib request.
URL open. Did I spell that wrong? Oh, whoops! I forgot the word request.
Yes.
Oh gosh. See, if anybody's following the GitHub code.
Yep. Exactly. So their switchy says never deploy on a Friday. Thank God it's Thursday. So it doesn't really even work on a Thursday, Mr. Dear Switchy. But yeah.
It's Friday Eve. Oh my gosh, it worked. Okay. So what I did was I deployed that again and I pressed test. So we didn't need the headers for this overall, but we will need headers later, so we can keep.
Okay. Okay. Good.
The reason is when we're sending some sort of like we're gonna need headers for the API keys. When we do that. So, but that's not for the webhook. But whatever. Well, it's best practice. So where we would put headers actually is like probably right here, but it's right here for now.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the hello world. Okay. So what's next? We need to know where are we getting our tech news, right? So I'm gonna need your help here because we're gonna go to something called RapidApi.com to find a feed. So I don't know if you know. Tell me in the chat if you've heard of RapidApi. I can't see the chat, so I might need.
Chat. Have you heard of RapidApi? I actually never heard of RapidApi. That's the first thing for me.
So it's actually a developer API marketplace, and you can even sell APIs on here. So if you create one, you could sell it. There's a lot of free ones that you could use. It's awesome.
I've made a lot of silly APIs in the past. I made a lot of silly APIs in the past.
See, a whole other business. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
So I'm going to type in tech news because that's what I want. And they have a really cool tech news API. And it really streamlines the process because they are streamlining in the same kind of way. So it's easy.
Can you zoom in a bit so we can see what it says there?
Okay, so
Aaron hates us. Aaron hates us right now. So.
I'm so sorry, Aaron. So I typed in tech news here and found this one. So look, you have all these different news sources. Which news source do we want to use? Because we're going to only test one of them right now. So let's see. I don't know. Any preference? Maybe Mac? Are you a Mac person? I'm kidding. I know.
Wait.
Oh my gosh. Are we going to get the Mac?
Let's do 9 to 5 Mac.
You got it. Perfect.
Got it.
So if you click 9 to 5 Mac over here, you have, we have to subscribe to test. So every API works a little different. This one, they have a basic 200 a day that's free, hard limit. So we're going to use that one for free.
Okay.
And we're going to go back to endpoints. Whoops. Okay, here we go. And look at that. We actually have, it gives you all these different language options. So we're using Python. So let's see. And it doesn't really show me. Well, we could look at requests and how it's formatting that and see.
We're going to learn all about Macs today.
Yeah. So look, it even shows you what you need. Well, this would work if you're uploading a package, but I have another way to do this right now, so we don't need to import a package. But this is kind of giving you the format.
Okay.
So I think what we could try to do right now is instead of hello world, try to get one raw
beautiful
feed. Yeah, one raw article. So to see the response, you could actually click example responses, and you could see that the latest article is this one. It might change by the time we get this to work, and you can see the schema here. So this is a really cool resource. I like it for doing projects, especially if you're trying to spin up something, good for playing around with things. So should we do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So actually, just a couple of comments here, folks. First of all, welcome to the chat. I see a bunch of people joining us as well, so that's pretty good. Hello to Costa Rica as well. So thank you so much for watching us. When it comes to Lambda functions, I see a couple of comments there, and the costs of a Lambda function, the invocation costs and all that. It really depends. There's a free tier as well. I believe it's 2 million invocations or something per month. So depending on how often you invoke a Lambda function, you may end up, very, very cheap, if not free. So yeah. And there's a link to the RapidApi hub. Okay.
Awesome. So what we're going to do now is I think we're going to try to, I'm just going to copy the headers and the URL. We are going to actually create environment variables like we did last time for this. This is not something you want to hard code. Although, of course, please don't use this. We're going to delete this after, but...
Of course. There's the API key for those wondering. There's an API key for those wondering.
Yeah.
There was a comment in chat, where do we store the API key? I mean, technically, you can also store the API key as an environment variable. So, for example...
which we're going to do.
I think... Yeah. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to... I'm just not seeing you, so I'm seeing my screen.
That's okay.
So
That's okay.
If I'm completely... Audio
Proceed.
only right now.
Proceed.
Oh gosh, me and indentations with Python. Let me tell you.
So that's my worst feature about Python. I hate indentations with Python. I think that's just bad. But feel free to fight me in the comments.
Tell me about it. So right now, what we want to do is actually we're going to test posting a story. So I'm just changing the description. Sample story here.
Okay.
So this will be something else, and we're going to try to send it over. But first, because we want to see that we're going to get the feed. So what we're going to do is let's switch these out, put them in the environment as environment variables, as we were saying.
Okay.
I'm going to put probably all of them.
Okay.
So let's start with the API key real quick. Sorry, I'm going to go back and forth because it's a little large for me here, so I might have to scroll.
Just to explain, while Linda is doing that, the reason we're storing these things as environment variables is that it's going to be easier for us to change, and the code can be reused. So instead of hard coding API keys and endpoints as code and putting it on GitHub and having other people use their API keys, you store them as environment variables in your Lambda configurations, and then you can just kind of reference them as variables, as operating system environment variables within a Python function. So it is simple as that, but you should all be doing that. So do not hard code anything that doesn't need to be hard coded into a Lambda function. So let me move the Mac away.
Oh, were we not using? We wanted to use 9 to 5 Mac. Was I using the wrong one? Oh wait. Okay, let me switch this up.
Yes.
We want to use 9 to 5 Mac.
Yes.
So actually not this. Sorry, this one. Sorry, I put the wrong one.
The 9 to 5 Mac. We're waiting, Linda.
I know. Okay, so right now I'm just going. I'm like literally looking at the code snippet they generate on RapidApi, and just to copy over to the environment variables. So that's what I'm doing. Oh, look, it's the same. Okay, cool. So this is RapidApi key, RapidApi host. Awesome.
Okay.
I think that's good. We could save. Whoops, it failed. Oh, sorry. I have to reload this. One moment.
That's okay.
I got logged out.
Oh, the timeouts. So, while Linda's getting back logged in, I'm gonna tell you a horror story about timeouts. As a non-US citizen, I need to apply for visas in the US. And if you ever applied for an American visa, going on the website and doing the entire 160 document process is fantastic, in quotes, because if you don't do something for 7 seconds, it times you out and loses a lot of your progress. So
and here it is.
Timeouts.
I literally lost what I typed. So here we go again. I think after this you'll all remember where to add environment variables. RapidApi. I'm forgetting the name I even called it.
Yeah.
Oh, where's my caps? Okay, RapidApi key, and I'm going to add the host. And this is again what I took from the RapidApi. Awesome. So again, what we're trying to do right now is send a sample article. So we're going to try to connect to this feed, print it out in logs, and then try to get it in here.
Okay.
So awesome. Press save. Okay, so I have my RapidApi key and RapidApi host. So now, how do we call it? Remember how we called our webhook URL? That's exactly how we're going to call this. So let's actually replace this here to rapid.
I love that.
Because I have my. I was like, where's the autofill? No autofill.
No, it has to be in quotation.
Yeah,
has to be in quotation marks.
I'm getting kind of spoiled when it comes to
IDs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. I just love this. I think it's so great. Like just doing it like that. Makes it so much nice, so much more reusable out there. So for the folks joining into the live stream, Linda is teaching me how to build a Slackbot. So a question for all of you: what's the most creative use for a chatbot you've seen so far? I've seen a comment here by somebody in the past. I'm gonna bring it up right now. Somebody, where is this? Mika Walter mentions worked for a fun Slack app a few years ago for the Cleveland Museum of Arts. I think that's a very interesting thing to
Wow.
do. Yeah. Okay. Chris says handling infrastructure issues. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of ways you can handle infrastructure issues with Slack. You can have Slackbots respond to your commands and do things and stuff. Ordering sandwiches for lunch. Hey, I'll get behind that.
Awesome. I'm just commenting here to clean it up because I try to comment, but I don't know. Just so this is clear. So this is the webhook, right? So here I added the headers. Let's see. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to send this. So I need to actually open the feed and read it. So you see this URL lib. We're gonna use that again to read the feed and open it and all that. So I'm gonna do another rec here. I should probably not use the same variable. Whatever. We're gonna maybe I'll do like rec. I don't know. Request rapid. No. Request rapid. URL lib. Again, a sucker for autofill.
Also, as you're typing, I see your JavaScript coming out in the name of the variables.
Oh my gosh,
the camel
it's so
case.
bad. I literally was putting semicolons on things. This is what happens. I'm telling you, like, I apologize in advance. This is what happens. A JavaScript person decides to write in
do Python.
I'm curious what language primarily everyone uses.
Yeah. Camel casing is life. Oh, okay, Aaron. Hear me out. Underscores. Wonderful.
Oh.
But yeah, I come from a C background, so that's kind of a different thing. But yeah.
Should I change this to not camel case? I feel like now I forgot that I'm on Python.
you just keep doing what you're doing, Linda, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I see everybody's here about camel case.
It's so bad. This time I didn't forget the request word, by the way. Ha.
Okay, good.
Okay, but let's see. I probably have another thing that's gonna fail, so don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, Brave Cobra, we are doing tabs versus spaces as well, but you know we all know it's spaces always.
Hot takes day.
Hot takes day.
So now I kind of will it print this? I'm going to try to print this data. Okay, so what we're going to do is our goal right now is to get this feed data to Slack.
Just to see if it works. Okay.
Right. But the first thing we're going to do is actually just print it, maybe, just to see that it's actually opening this. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking this URL, I'm putting these headers, and I'm requesting it. I'm pretty much opening it and reading it, and then actually, why did I write stories? I'm supposed to put data. I don't know what's going on. We should try to see if this prints. So the first thing I'll do is actually not forget to deploy.
Yeah, okay, yes, please do that. Well, that is deploying. Question here from OW Drew. Quick question, I enter late to the stream. Well, no time is late. So we also have a YouTube channel you can check out. But can I know the use case of a Slack app on AWS? So AWS doesn't have anything specifically to do with this. We're just using AWS Lambda functions to interact with a Slack app. So your Slack application is running in your Slack workspace, and what Lambda function is doing is basically triggering the webhook of the Slack API to send it something. That's about it. And you can be as creative as you want here. So in this case, we're just sending tech news about Max to Slack.
And also, we have a GitHub repo with all the code and some steps. So you could.
I'll share.
Sorry, it's scrappy, but
it's the best.
Scrappy's the best. Yeah, no. I'll probably add some more photos in there at some point. So I'm going to try to test this and see if the data prints to my logs.
Go for it.
See. So Lambda logs are really helpful.
Okay.
Of course, if it's still sending hello world, but look at that. Do you see this?
Yeah, there we go.
Some,
Beautiful.
Some news. Okay. So what we're going to try to do now is, okay, I see it printing and the execution result, but I want this to show up there. And remember, this is how I sent it to the webhook. So I kind of want to replace it with this data, but it's going to be a lot of data, so I can't really send the whole thing. So just for purposes of sending one item from the feed, like the last story, we're just going to update this a bit. So let's see, this is reading this. I need to load it because the thing is, I need to make sure the format is JSON.loads data. And now I think I want to use the word stories equals. And then get to turn this into a string.
Okay.
Because I was getting errors yesterday doing this. With bytes all the time. So I just want to try to get this story, this is pretty much me saying, okay, take the feed and take the last
story.
The last story in there. We will need to iterate through this next probably, but for now, I just want to see a story show up here. So the message currently here is hello world, because this is where we put it. So we actually want to move this down, and we want to say, I want to send this stories, which is actually one story, but sorry for the confusion. And I want to change this to, well, no, actually it's the same message.
It's the same message, it's going to be the same, So you're basically just dumping JSON, and hopefully the Slack app will be smart enough to do it.
Okay, drum roll. Deploy, not going to forget.
Come on,
you know what else could cause problems that I just realized? Just in general? The timeout of the Lambda. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So Lambda. Tell us about Lambda timeouts.
Oh my gosh! First of all, it's sent. Yay. Okay. So you see, this is a raw.
Yeah.
Raw piece. We're gonna format this next, but just a quick thing about timeouts. Horror story. There was definitely a few times that I sat on Lambda not understanding what's going on, and the errors were like timeout related, and turns out that by default you have like 0.3 seconds or something on Lambda. For timeout. So to update that, we should do that right now. Let me show you. When you create a Lambda, I think it's one of the first things people should do. And I think it's in general configuration. You see this timeout?
Yes.
This needs to be updated. I'm going to be, what should we update it to? 15, 30?
Let's do 30 seconds. The reason this is Lambdas have a finite amount of time they can run. The longer they run, the more expensive they are. So if you have an API that's stuck somewhere, you better leave it to timeout than just run it for 15 minutes, because that's going to cost you a lot of money. So so if it's 3 seconds, it may not be good enough. So
awesome. So now, as you can see, I have something showing up here, but I want to format this. So what's really cool is Slack has a way to actually test formatting, because there's a specific way you send the payload. So if you want to play around with how things look, there's something called a block kit UI builder. Which I think it's So this has all these templates, and you could play around. If you delete something here, it'll just like delete part of it. You see. So for the sake of time, because I know we're like 10 minutes out. I'm going to copy the response body that I have in the code. You could view it here, but pretty much I formatted it in a way where I'm taking the 4 items that we have from our feed, which, if you could see here, the raw, it's title, date, time, image, link. That's what's coming through. You could also see it in the RapidApi. Like if you look, if you look at the example response here, you could see the properties and the body and how it comes through. So I really just want to format it in a way that looks better. So what we're going to do now is take the same thing and format it and try to send it again. So
beautiful.
I'm just pulling up the GitHub code real quick because.
Okay, that's fine. So you're basically going to change the message here to match this. Okay. So the message JSON object is going to be nicer.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much have a response body that just looks formatted for Slack, and it's really cool. Yeah. This tool is really fun when you want to play around with. You could also, like, as you could see, you could kind of like have all these different templates too. So there's a template button here. You have all these like you could add buttons, and then you could add functionality to all that. You could use events and all that within the Slack API to do that. Insane. I built like some apps that had like a lot of different features like these, and it was just really, it's really cool.
That's amazing.
And it has kind of a consistent feel. So once you get used to it, it's But for the sake of me not giving you 10,000 typos,
it's not really interesting to watch somebody type JSON in a browser.
No, exactly, and it's like dividers and all that. So I'll just go through it real quick. So I actually just replaced the message one that we had before that had the hello world, and I just put response body. And what I'm doing here is I have a block section. I put a little, you could put emojis, by the way, like you could just type like this. News story 9 to 5. I'm using some regex here to format a hyperlink. And this says link in title. This is not what we're going to use. We actually have to use this because
because we're
doing this as a test. So I think we need to kind of do something like this to actually get the link. So we're going to try that real quick. I'm just going to replace these. So I'm just expanding here so I could see it. And we're gonna just use title over here.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I'm looking all the way on the side of my monitor.
That's okay. That's okay.
I apologize if this looks really lagged. The image. Okay, we want an image. Image. See? Perfect. Let's see if we missed anything. Link, title, image. I don't think we need date time right now. 9 to 5 max is what we're using. Perfect. And then actually we have to change this to response body.
Okay, response body. Okay.
As we're now using
Beautiful.
That. And what do we do now?
Deploy, please.
Deploy. We need like a sound for that.
Yes. Console team, AWS console team, implement a sound before clicking test.
I know,
that has not been deployed. Okay.
Perfect. So now we're going to test the formatted version. So I'm going to put a line here so it's easily visible.
Yes.
Sending something.
Okay.
Let's press test and see if I broke the code. I did.
Yes, you
Syntax.
did. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Line 24.
Let's see, unexpected something. I think it's probably unexpected. Wait, what did it say? Sorry. Syntax error module, unexpected indent.
Indent, yeah. There you go. Python. So I think...
Because it looks... Oh, it's not. Look at that. Come on.
Spaces, people. Use spaces. Boom.
If it had a description, it would be cool to add that here, but it doesn't give me that in the API. But look,
amazing.
Now it's hyperlinked. Voila. Okay, yeah, I'm a block, but it's okay. Perfect. So now we have the response going through. I know we're 5 minutes out. So what I want to show you real quick is maybe I'll pull up. What do we think is better? Do we want me to go over the rest of the code real quick?
Let's just slowly pull up the GitHub page to show people where they can actually check this thing out and what else they can do with it.
Yeah.
There's an element of DynamoDB here as well.
Yes. So I actually want to speak on that real quick. So the next thing to do once this is formatted would be to then actually put this feed to the database.
Right.
And as it's sent to Slack. So every time I send something to Slack, I want to put it in a database. To do that, I'll put up the GitHub, but there are steps here. And it's step number, here we go. Wherever it says database. Here we go, somewhere database. We did this.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We would, the creating a function that loops through the data. That would be the next step, but you could do whichever one first. You could try to test it first on the database too. But this is the main thing that would have been next. You create a DynamoDB table, and you create some sort of unique ID that you could then say, hey, did I send this?
Yeah.
You pretty much every time you invoke the Lambda, checking if you sent it. And essentially what I would do is I would have to also update the permissions. So just quickly going over this, the main thing I would have to update here to connect to a database is in the permissions.
Yeah.
There's a role here that was in the configuration, and I would add like DynamoDB as a permission.
Correct.
So
the Lambda function can write to a DynamoDB table, right?
So I would attach policy DynamoDB, and that because you would get an error saying like it's not working, and you would also add the table name. The same way we were calling environment variables, we would need to add the table name to the code. All the code is on GitHub. If you want, I can pull this up real quick, but I know we're out, so I don't want to...
The GitHub, we're going to share that in chat just in a moment. So, Linda, thank you so much. I think this was wonderful.
Thank you.
We've created this. Well, you've taught me how to create a Slack app or a Slack bot that just gets news from a RapidApi and passes it on to a Slack app, which is wonderful. So we're going to share the link in the chat. There's been a GitHub shared before. Before we wrap it all up, one of the things I want to ask all of the chat here, please. Hello, chat. we need you. We need to hear your opinions, right? We love hearing your messages in chat when we actually save all these messages. So if you ever have any feedback, chat is a great way to do it. But the better way to do it is to go to that little survey in the chat. I promise is every day. It's not a bad survey. It's not too much. We don't need any personal information. Just tell us, what do you think of the show? Tell us if it's good, if it's bad, are we annoying, are we doing too much, are we doing too little? And also, very importantly, tell us if you think or what you think we should talk about next. There's a wonderful free-form field there, so feel free to put any information there. We will be also taking suggestions for AWS services. If you have feature feedback on specific services, Lambda functions and whatnot, we can handle those things as well. So make sure to check out that wonderful thing and follow us on here on the thing on Twitch, and check out the YouTube channel for previous episodes and all that stuff.
Woohoo!
Woo! There you go. I hope you learned something new. This was fun for me, right? We got my Mac to see some 9 to 5 Mac news as well.
Mac. You have a museum over there.
It's a museum, yeah. So all that, and I think we are close to wrapping it up. But before we do, next week, there is no weekly show. There's a good reason for that, though. So next week, 8 a.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/AWS, for 4 hours, maybe a bit more, we're having the Build On Observability Day. So if you want to learn anything about logging, metrics, tracing, eBPFs, OpenTelemetry, whatever, join us, twitch.tv/AWS next week at the same place, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11, I think, East Coast, 5 p.m. Central European time. So join us there. It's going to be hosted by Jackie and Ricardo. It's going to be a wonderful thing. We have wonderful hosts, wonderful guests from all over the community. We have some Amazonians, some wonderful folks from places like Meta, Grafana, all over the place. So check us out next week. And also, the survey and the chat. Don't forget about it.
Tell us what you want to see next.
Tell us what you want to see next. Yeah, I think, we want to run these episodes based on your feedback. So if you tell us, hey, Darko, can we do things on, I don't know, can we do a live stream on a classic Mac? Probably not, but can we do a live stream on, IoT or security or whatever? Just let us know in the little survey there. Linda, it's been such a pleasure.
It's such a pleasure. I'm going to have noodles. That sure is just making me. I really
Do you?
Yeah, I want to get a couple noodles now. That's a cool shirt. I need the link to this cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to run the outro video. Happy Thursday. It's Friday Eve, as you say.
Friday Eve.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Linda, and everybody. Goodbye.
Hey there! Thanks for checking out this video. Remember to give it a like and share with your community. Then hit subscribe and the bell for all the latest content that will help you build on AWS.